Game over. Warning. Incoming. Game over.
And exhale. Breathe. It's done. They did it. This time. The Leafs are going to round 2. They will face the Florida Panthers for the second time in 3 years in the second round. And hopefully it will go very differently than the last time that they did this. But tonight we are focused on Game 6 of round 1. Leafs win 4-2. William Nylander with the empty netter. Max Pacioretty, who we all thought would be the series hero, him and Simon Benoit, takes the game winner, and we can all breathe easy and look forward to round 2. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. I'm Dominic Jones. With me, Zach Payne. Zach, how are we feeling? Leafs win. We're going to the second round. We get to keep doing this for at least 4 more games.
You want to know how I'm feeling, Dominic?
How are you feeling?
Let's fucking go! The Leafs! We were all worried. We can admit it. We were stressed. We thought the worst. We were expecting everything to blow up. Mitch Marner's gone. John Tavares is gone. Everyone's fired for at least a few days. And as you said, for at least 4 more games, we can breathe. And we can get excited for round 2. It's just the second time since 2004 this team has won a playoff series. And you know what? Go back to 2023. They kind of got lucky in that series. It's nice to win a series they deserved to win. Full credit to the Ottawa Senators, and we'll gas them up. We will give them their flowers for sticking in the series and for the problems they gave the Leafs. But for right now, we are allowed to enjoy this. We are allowed to get hype. So everyone in the chat, let's go, man. The Leafs won another playoff series. It feels good.
After last year, when, they 2 years ago, they get to the second round and it gets disastrous in the second round. Then last year, they lose in the first round. And I remember thinking in the handshake line, God, this feels familiar. This feels normal. This is how it's supposed to be. And I didn't like that thought. I didn't like that feeling. And so all the way through this year, I've been hoping to not have that feeling again. And what I felt at the end of this game, I think I'm a little bit more subdued than you and maybe the rest of Leafs Nation. Because what I saw and what I felt when the game ended was good. Job's not done. When they won 2 years ago, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be excited. Everybody should be fucking excited because this is awesome.
Absolutely.
But when we won 2 years ago, kind of celebrated like we won the Stanley Cup. Like the Tavares goal, lightning in a bottle, the celebration on the bench, Keefe jumping up and down like he'd lost his mind, the city partying like the Raptors had won the championship again. Like it felt very. I mean, it was a release because we hadn't done it. It hadn't happened. This time it's happened before. It's done. They've done it before. And we're not okay with just one round. That's not the prize. That's not what they're after. And so the game ends with a subtle, subdued celebration. It helps it wasn't overtime. Overtime is always exciting, no matter what. Yeah. They come over the bench. They celebrate just a little bit. They congratulate Stoli. They get in the line. They shake hands. And now we get ready to, I guess, welcome the Panthers into our barn because we won the division. So we still get to keep the home ice advantage. And you know what? I've always thought the dragon that needed to be slayed was the Boston Bruins, and they've had 4 cracks at them and never done it. Here's my sort of keeping, we're going to, from a certain point of view this. Maybe the dragon isn't the Boston Bruins. Maybe it's just Brad fucking Marchand. And we're going to deal with him in round 2. We're going to deal with him in round 2. It might be them too, yeah.
The Bruins thing is so funny because, whatchamacallit, I forget who tweeted it, but someone tweeted, during the season when the Bruins fell off a cliff, it's like when the dragon you always hoped you'd slay dies of old age. That's kind of what it is. But, look.
Yeah.
We absolutely 2 things can be true here.
Yes.
This is not the end goal.
No.
This is this is supposed to be a step along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to celebrate the victories as they come. Because
absolutely.
This is a franchise that hasn't had enough to celebrate about this time of year. So to get a playoff series, look at the Oilers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They beat up on the Kings every single year. Do they get tired of it? Do they get tired of celebrating? No, because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so easy to be negative, and it's so much there's so much time for that, especially when it comes to the Leafs, to be negative.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We Lauren and I basically had a postmortem after Game 5. We came on this program and we talked about how it's all happening again. I named the for those of you who tuned into the show before I switched the title after the win, I had named the show Fighting Demons, because that's what the Leafs have had to do. They go into Game 6, they have all the demons in their heads, and they get it done, a business-like effort. So we're going to celebrate the win for tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And then tomorrow, it's on to Florida.
To Florida. We want Florida. That's what we're doing, right? That's what we say.
I don't know if we want Florida, but
we're getting Florida, whether we want it or not. I mean, you use the word you use the word business-like. That's watching the game from the first period onward, it felt different than all the other elimination games, including Game 6 against Tampa. They felt like they were in more control. They felt like they weren't being chased. They felt like they were applying pressure, and for once, the bounces went their way. So many of the previous years, they go into a game like this, and they are on the back foot right away. The other team has the momentum. They challenge them. They charge them. And the Leafs have no answers. Here, they've started applying pressure all the way through the first period. They get the power play goal from Matthews in the last minute with just a perfect, laser focused, that is Luke Skywalker blowing up the Death Star, accuracy there. People kept calling it a changeup. What it was a Mark Burley fastball, where it wasn't fast, but it was accurate. That's it was perfect. And that, all of a sudden, you feel like maybe good things can happen to this team. All the narrative about the power play, all the narrative about the core four and Matthews in particular not showing up in these games, there it is, all answered in one play with, a minute and a bit left in the first period.
Yeah, so two things on that. First of all, that was the first power play goal the Leafs have scored in a closeout game since Patrick Marleau in Game 7 of 2018.
That's brutal.
Absolutely insane that William Nylander was wearing 29 the last time they scored on the power play in a closeout game. But number two, I put out a post before this game, and I said, Austin Matthews and William Nylander owe you big games. They put up points in games 1 to 4, but neither of them have taken over a game. I don't necessarily know if they I wouldn't say Matthews dominated this game. I wouldn't say Nylander even dominated this game. But what they did do, and we'll talk about Nylander a little bit later, is when they got a chance, when they were in chance, they had opportunities to score, they took advantage. They took what they didn't just take what the defense gave them. They saw an opening and they attacked it. Also, full credit to Matthew Nyes on that beautiful screen in front on the first goal. But Austin Matthews, he's heading downhill. He's like, you know what? I'm going to shoot it. Yeah. Was it the best ripper we've ever seen from Austin Matthews? No. But he shot the puck. He put it in the right spot, and it went in.
There was a puck-sized space between Ullmark's skate and the post, and he put it exactly there. That's incredible. Yeah. Yes, he hasn't had his signature shot, but dude is still incredibly talented. He's still incredibly skilled, and very, very few people can do that shot in that moment. Just phenomenal stuff from Matthews to basically end the first period. The second period begins with the other guy you said needed to step up. Willie Nylander gets the goal. Good effort by Pacioretty to kind of force a turnover, and then Willie just snipes it home. That the kind of goal that we've been looking for from Nylander in key moments this series. His only goal up until this point was a 5-on-3. Love a 5-on-3 goal, always great, but that's not. You can't bank on that. You can't win on 5-on-3s. here he gets the kind of goal that we need. What was your reaction to seeing that Willie goal at the start of the second?
Yeah, so honestly, I was in the first period, I was pretty not upset, but I was frustrated with Nylander because the only real memorable moment he had in the opening frame was there was a sequence in which the Senators were able to hem the Leafs in for like 45 seconds and get a couple of shots because Nylander was standing still waiting for the puck to come to him, and he didn't take one stride to go get it, to chip it out, and the Sens were able to keep it in the offensive zone. So I was kind of on tilt, but Pacioretty, like you said, he gets a stick on it, puck goes up in the air, and Nylander just attacks. He gets it, he pokes it forward, and he goes to the open space. I don't recall who the Senators' defender was on that play, but just a very risky pinch by him, and it didn't work out. Nylander gets the opening, and look, man, you're only going to get in those spots maybe once a game. You got to bury, and he did. That's what elite players are paid to do is, yeah, like you might have 5 or 6 chances in the game total, but the one that goes to the elite player has to be the one that goes in, and it does. And that, like, you go up 2-0. Honestly, that should have been it right there. Like, that should have been it, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why I felt like this game was different than the other elimination games, is that, yes, Tkachuk follows it up with a goal shortly thereafter, and yes, Perron would eventually tie it. But those were kind of Mickey Mouse goals that the Sens scored. Like, I give Brady the credit for that tip. That's a good tip. Jake McCabe screwed up by going to go pick up his stick instead of going to box him out in front. But, you know, you have to make a split-second decision. He chose to go for the stick. I get it. But I never felt like the Sens were in control of this game. I never really felt like they threatened the Leafs. They got these goals. And you know, if you can score, you deserve to score. I won't ever take that away. But they never felt like how some of those games against the Bruins, the Lightning, even the Habs, like those games felt in previous years, in previous situations like this, where the Leafs could have eliminated them and just, you know, curled up into a ball and went away. Instead, it felt like the Leafs kept up the pressure. They maybe didn't necessarily dominate, but they didn't let the other team dominate either. They made it so that they were consistently getting chances. They were consistently battling, and you never felt like, oh, a goalie is holding us into this, or we're holding on by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, so like I felt good about how the Leafs were playing. I think I pushed back on the Mickey Mouse goals because in this Brady Tkachuk especially has scored Mickey Mouse goals in this series. His first one was a back between the legs pass that goes off of Carlos' skate and in. His second one was a shot from the ringette line that had no traffic in front and was inexcusable for Stolarz to give up. His third one was an empty netter. This one was a Brady Tkachuk goal,
that's a good goal.
And I think in this game, it wasn't as much like, oh, it was a lucky bounce. It was the Sens taking advantage of the Leafs' miscues. So, like you said, Jake McCabe, he knocks down Tkachuk, it loses his stick, and he just takes way too long to get his stick and go to the front of the net. You leave Brady Tkachuk alone in front of the net on a point shot, you're asking for trouble. The David Perron goal, I don't know what on earth Anthony Stolarz was doing. He's bending forward. He's hunchbacked on his knees. And David Perron, a savvy veteran who's been around the block in the playoffs a lot, he's gonna find a way to score that, right? Like he banks it off the back because he sees an opening. So the Sens forwards, they were taking advantage of what the Leafs gave them. At the same time, the Leafs were doing a pretty good job defending. And we'll talk about this more in the series recap, but Tim Stützle, super fast player, super good skater. Every single time, I don't think he beat a Leafs defender wide the entire series. There must have been at least like 15 to 20 of those rushes where he's trying to just burn around the outside, and every time, poke check, body check, separated from the puck, turn over the other way. He had his moments in this game, and I don't want to take that away from him, but the Leafs, like, that's just one example of the way the Leafs were doing a good job defending. We know about the block shots. In the third period, the fourth line this is before this Bobby McMahon got promoted, but McMahon, Domi, and Holmberg, they had a minute-long shift in the third period of just cycling in on the forecheck, winning battles. And I sat there at the time. I was like, you could not ask for a better like outcome for that first shift from your fourth line in this kind of game. And obviously, we got an even better one later on. But I'll let you cue that up.
Yeah, I mean, let's go there now. Like you said, those three have a great shift, and then Domi and Holmberg get a new line mate for a minute here. They get Pacioretty, and it happens again. Domi and Holmberg go in 2-on-1. They get stopped by Ullmark, but they continue to battle, and they're battling behind the net. Domi wins the battle. Holmberg goes immediately to the front of the net. There's a great angle from just beyond the blue line where you can see the whole thing develop, and the pass goes right to Max to Max, and you can see Ullmark never stood a chance at that one. Holmberg was right in the perfect spot to screen him. Pacioretty fires at home. Number 67 gets the game-winning goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs to advance out of round one. Former captain of the Montreal Canadiens, number 67, gets the game winner.
And you know what? We have to do another 67 thing. So Sam Stone in the chat saying, don't forget about the conspiracy. I promised him I would bring up this point because at the start of the year, he joked and said, Max Pacioretty, number 67, is going to break the curse. He is going to be like number 67 is going to break the 1967 curse. Mm-hmm. We're one step of the way there. And dude, it's absolutely hilarious because all series, when he's been playing, I've been dogging on this guy because he looked terrible. Even in this game, McMahon gets promoted, and then the first shift Pacioretty has on the fourth line, he misses a pass with no pressure and ices it.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. The line that was the center of attention, that was the stand-in for this team not living up to expectations, to this team falling short, to this team, blowing the series. This line that everybody was trying to figure out who can you take out and who can you put in wins the game. Holmberg, Domi, Pacioretty. Those are the three guys that we spent the last 48 hours, and everybody in the city spent the last 48 hours trying to figure out who you're taking out for Nick Robertson and if you need to take another one out for David Kampf. You
could have scratched any of them and no one would have complained. No. Everyone would have been like, yeah, I understand why you did that.
Yeah. And yet,
misfits.
There they are. I mean, this is what I'll say about Max Domi, who I know is not your favorite player, but he has shown this series that for as much as he is infuriating at times, he has a knack for the big moments. Game 2, overtime winner. Game 6, setting up the game-winning goal in the third period. He has a knack for showing up in that big moment, and he did it again tonight.
You know what? I've actually been surprised that Domi hasn't been better in this series because he is a gamer. He usually elevates in the big moments, right? If we harken back, there was a game against the Panthers in the regular season that everyone had kind of circled as being this is a huge opportunity for the Leafs to really take a hold of the division race. And obviously they won that anyways, despite losing that game. But in that game, the Leafs were terrible. But the only guy who elevated his play was Max Domi. Early on, he laid 3 hits. He got in a fight. He scored a big goal in the third period to ignite the crowd. And I was like, he's going to elevate in the playoffs. And then he was horrible for the first 2 games. But then he scored the OT winner. So it's you know what? It's okay. But then he was horrible for the rest of the series. And then he sets up the series winning goal. So I have very complicated thoughts on Max Domi. But for what it's worth, he does elevate in the big moments.
He's flawed, but he's clutch. He's somehow both. It's amazing.
The second line combo of Domi, Tavares, Nylander. Never want to see it again. That was horrible.
Yeah.
But Domi on the fourth line as the bottom 6 scoring line, whatever you want to refer to it as.
The 3.5 line.
If you shelter his minutes, it's totally fine.
Yeah. Get the goal. Go ahead. Things are looking pretty good. All right, no, I'm getting the timeline confused here because I was thinking about the Riley penalty. Which
that was
just to go back to that real quick.
Yeah,
this is what was infuriating about the Perron goal, is that was one of the best penalty kills they've ever done. It's
only beat by the one they had earlier in this game.
Yeah, it's driven me nuts all year how passive the Leafs' power penalty kill can be.
Yes.
And it's been successful at times. It's been very successful at times. And there are other points where you're like, why are you standing back? Go and challenge them. And I loved that the mentality for that penalty kill for both of them in this game was to challenge every puck. And I wish they would do that more often. And I think you'll have to do that against Florida in the second round. I just wanted to touch on that because that was because literally you look at the shot. Morgan Riley comes back on the ice, and then like a second later, Perron banks it off Stoley's head, and it's in the net. We're tied. It was like a high. This whole game was peaks and valleys, I think, for both teams. Yeah. But yeah, so Sens pull the goalie. They pull Ullmark. Willie nearly ices it from his knees in front of his own goal. Just misses by like that much, like just a little bit off. And man. Yeah, but he makes up for it. He gets another chance at it, and he puts it home, finishes it off 4-2.
Well,
and we can all breathe easily.
We got to give some flowers. Immediately after Pacioretty scores, Scott Lawton nearly iced the game with like 4 minutes to go. Hits the post on the final play. A huge shot block in the defensive zone by Lawton. Nylander is able to just outskate, was it Shabbat, and ices the series. Everyone had a part to play in this. There are people who played better than others. There are people who have some room to grow in round 2 if the Leafs are going to pull this off. But that checking line is, I love it. Like, it's awesome. And the best part is, if any of those guys get hurt, here's David Kampf.
Yeah.
Like, if Lorentz gets hurt, okay, Lawton goes to left wing and Kampf plays in the middle. Cool.
Yeah. Easy does it. Yeah. There's that you do have kind of that safety net for the fourth line, so they can bang and crash a little bit more if they want to, if they need to. And so if they get hurt and they need to, or they just need to miss a game, like it's not even like a bad injury. It's just one of those ones where you need to give it a little extra time to rest. You put in Kampf, and like you said, it's not too bad a situation there. Let's move into our second period here. Again, want to remind you, if you're watching live, you're listening live, like and subscribe. We're going to round 2. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to be here after every game with us, with Lauren, to break down these games and, make sense of whatever happens next from here. And hopefully get another celebration like this one at some point in the not too distant future. So like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto, and you know what, go subscribe to Game Over Ottawa as well. There won't be any more of those, but we should show them some love.
Last show of the season for them. Go give them some love.
We should go give them some love.
I think Terry M in the chat said, be sure to head over to Game Ottawa and show them some love. I'm going right now. So like all of those guys. Oh yeah. Like, for as much as we hate Ottawa, but we still like them.
Oh, so. Tremendous crew over there. When we would do crossovers during the season, it was always a blast to team up with them and to break down these games, to have fun. And it's always funny. We think about fan bases as the monolith in the arena or the monolith online, and then when you get to talking to one-on-one with somebody from the Sens fans, Canadians fans, and whatever, any other team's fan base, you wind up having a really great and interesting conversation, and you wind up complimenting each other's team far more than you're expecting to. I had a lot of good things to say about Ottawa. They had a lot of good things to say about Toronto, and it all sort of works out that way.
I don't know if they still do tonight.
Yeah, but maybe not after tonight. Let's look back on this series a little bit. 6 games. Leafs, of course, go up 3-0 in the series. They lose the next 2. One of them is in overtime where they're a bounce away from ending it in 4. One of them they get shut out, and it's a bit of an embarrassment and creates the panic that we all felt for the last 48 hours. And then they come out and they play this game and fairly convincingly ice the series and send the Senators packing. Zach, what's your big takeaway from the series overall, positive or negative? What's the thing when you look at the series, you're like, that was the defining trait for the Maple Leafs?
So it's weird because this also ended up being their undoing in games 4 and 5. But the Leafs have done a really good job of playing their brand of hockey. All series, the Leafs were doing a fantastic job. It was low event, but they were defending really well. In games 2 and 3 especially, what you saw, even in this one, like I'll go check it right now, but those games where the Leafs have a lead in the third period and you go 15 minutes without even allowing a shot in the third period. Obviously, Ottawa happened to score on the shots that they did get, and they did a better job tonight. They got 12 shots in the third period, which is a lot more normal. But at the end of the day, the Leafs, they play a low event style. Sometimes that doesn't work out so well when the 50-50 plays don't go your way, like in games 4 and 5. But at the end of the day, this is who they are. And we're not sitting here being like, oh, like last year, for example, Leafs are this running gun team in the regular season. The playoffs start, and now we're a defensive team. Well, that's not who we are. That's like this is the flip the switch thing. The Leafs did not flip a switch this year. It's just a progression of the regular season. Everything you saw in the regular season was building to what they are in the playoffs now, and what they will continue to be into round 2. So, as far as like encouraging, is that they are rock solid in their identity as a low event, good defensive team that's going to capitalize on chances when they get them. At the same time, that also means that if you get behind in these games, it's tough to you don't exactly have another gear offensively. They're built to play with the lead. So we'll see how that plays, but the good thing for us is we know exactly who they are. Now I want to flip this to you because we did a show, all three of us, after game 3, and you said that how they win the series would kind of alter your confidence level going into round 2. If you complete the sweep, then great, you're feeling good. If you win in 5, you're still feeling good, gentleman sweep. They lose 2, and game 5 was a disaster. How are you feeling about this team moving forward?
So it's interesting because I didn't really get to watch game 5, and I think that was for the best.
You are so lucky.
I think that was for the best. I experienced that through painful notifications on my phone. So, but I knew it was bad, and I could tell from the reaction that it was bad. And when I looked at the highlights and everything, it was a real big problem. Like, it was not going to, that was not the kind of game that inspires any sort of confidence. And so the question then becomes, how do you respond to that? And this has been something I've been watching the team with the team all year, is how do they respond to adversity? Game 4, you lose on a coin flip in overtime. Okay, whatever. C'est la vie. You come into game 5, and you come out like that. That doesn't look good for how you overcome adversity. You come into this game, and if they had won it sort of the same way that they had won game 6 a few years ago, where it was just a bit of luck, really, I don't know if I'd feel really confident. If the Sens had a real push and they'd sort of hung on, I don't know if I'd feel real confident. As I said earlier, I really liked how they played this game overall. I never, everybody always says, oh, it was never in doubt. And that's not really true. It was tied a couple of times. But they never played in a way where I felt really scared. Felt anxious. I was on the edge of my seat. I was, had my head in my hands a lot just because of the pressure and the feelings that we have as fans. But the way they handled this one, to me, does give me some confidence going into the next series. I'm not as confident as I would be if they had swept, or if they had, come out and given this performance in game 5. But I'm more confident than if they had, just kind of gotten a couple of Mickey Mouse goals of their own and then held on while the Senators put on a barrage at the end. Instead, they more or less handled it. They more or less handled the game the way they needed to, right down to Nylander chasing down that final goal, including, he gets the penalty draw. He draws a penalty. And you could just sort of give,
anyways.
Yeah, he could have just given up on the play, but he makes a point of putting it in the net so that there is no doubt on that play. So I'm fairly happy with how they ended this series. I'm not thrilled with how the last game went, but I'm fairly happy, and I feel relatively confident going into round 2. You're never going to feel super confident going up against the defending champs. You're never going to feel super confident against going up against that level of talent on Florida. But as you said earlier, there's no easy paths. So this is I think maybe not the best case scenario going into round 2, maybe the second best case scenario going into round 2 for this team.
Yeah, I mean, well, your options were win and play the Lightning or win and play the Panthers, and guess what?
Yeah, and I say that knowing that it's going to be the Panthers. Like I'd rather play the Lightning, but knowing that it's the Panthers is like the second best way they could have handled this series.
Well, regardless, a Florida-based team has gone to the last 5 Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to have an easy path regardless.
Nope.
Now, granted, since 2023, the Lightning have been actually kind of horrible in the playoffs. They have lost 3 straight first-round series. Mm-hmm. So, well, like, it doesn't matter. But end of the day, we'll talk about the Panthers in a second. Mm-hmm. I do want to say, though, for Ottawa, ton of respect there. I think they will be back. I think their defense, especially like their defense core, in games 1 through 3, you really saw how much they struggled with the physicality. Because coming into the series, it was, Brady Tkachuk. And then through the first 3 games, we were like, yeah, but look at what Matthew Knies is doing to your defense. Like, you can't stop him in front of the net. Mm-hmm. In games 4 and 5, and even to an extent tonight to a lesser degree, because Knies had the beautiful screen on the first goal, but the Sens defense was much more comfortable with the physicality, right? Like, we know how much the forwards have been hitting, but the defense was settling a lot more. Jake Sanderson is a rock star back there. I'm super excited to see the kind of player he grows into, or maybe not because he's a Senator, but he's a super good defenseman, and he was their best player in this series, bar none, in my opinion. He was playing like 27, 28 minutes a night this series, even in the game, like the game that they won in game 5. Like, it's a pretty comfortable win. He still plays like 25, 26 minutes. So he's their rock back there. I thought he really showed a lot of growth throughout the series. Brady Tkachuk is clearly battling through something. We criticized the type of goals that he was scoring in the series, but hey, he still scored 4 goals in 6 games.
Goals are goals, yeah.
So goals are goals, and if Austin Matthews had scored those goals, we would, like, Sens fans would be saying it, but we wouldn't be sitting here being like, wow, look at how Mickey Mouse these goals are. We'd be like, hey, he scored 4 goals. So credit to him. He was putting the puck in the net. Drake Batherson had a couple rough moments, but he bounced back a little bit. Linus Ullmark, he was about as bad as he could be through 3 games. He really battled back and kept them alive in games 4, 5, and almost tonight as well. So Ottawa, like, I'll give them their flowers. They battled back. They could have laid down and died. It would have been super easy for them to roll over in game 4 and just pack it in and go golfing. Yeah. They battled back. They made this a competitive series. I think, honestly, my biggest criticism is I think your coach is a bit of a crybaby, but at the same time, though, like, he did a good job, Travis Green, adjusting in games 4 and 5 with his lineups and being more creative with how he deployed his lineup. So for as bad as he was in games 1 to 3, he also showed, the entire Sens team just showed development throughout this series. And if you're an Ottawa fan, that is the most encouraging thing for you going forward is, hey, we almost got swept by our in-province rival, and that would have been the worst case scenario. Instead, you make it a series. They expected to lose. Like, this was the expected outcome. I think most people picked Leafs in 5 or 6 games. The Leafs went in 6. It's just the order that kind of messed everyone up a little bit. Kind
of got everybody a little worried. Yeah, I will say I'm not necessarily looking forward to seeing Paul Maurice's face every day for the next
or
2
press
weeks.
Conferences.
Yeah, but I will be very glad not to see Travis Green's face for a little bit. I just got to be perfectly honest. I was like you. I was sick of him. But I will join you in praising the Senators for one hell of a series and for battling back. Like I said, one of my things with the Leafs has been overcoming adversity, and the Sens faced some real adversity in this series. They went down 3-0, and they had the confidence and the swagger to make it interesting, to be tied in game 6 with, 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left, somewhere in there. They kept it interesting. They were never truly out of it. As much as I've said, I wasn't afraid of the Sens in this game the way I was afraid of Boston and Tampa and other teams in previous elimination games. They were never out of it either. The Leafs didn't dominate them either. Like, it wasn't a reverse of that. So there is a very good and young, talented team and core there that will be a thorn in our sides for a long time. And so, Sens fans, this is not the night where you necessarily want to hear good things about your team. This is the night where you're kind of mourning the end of the season. We've been there. We've had that experience. We know what it's like. But know this, that battling through a series like that and showing the grit and the resolve that they showed in this series does, I think, bode well for their future. So hopefully, for your sake and for the sake of everybody at Game Over Ottawa, next season will be a continued return to form, and we can do this again. Like the Joker and Batman, you and I are destined to do this forever. And just like the early 2000s, the Leafs will win every round, or maybe not,
boy.
Or maybe
there.
not, maybe not. And this is a very different Leafs team.
We'll cross that bridge. We will cross that bridge.
But a good team over there that has a bright future ahead of it.
Absolutely.
Let's move on into our third period here.
Sure. As quickly, just
go ahead.
While we do that. It is worth noting for people watching the out-of-town scoreboard, the Vegas Golden Knights hold on 3-2 to eliminate the Minnesota Wild in 6 games as well.
Boom.
The Colorado Avalanche, who are down 3-2 in their series with Dallas, they are up 1-0 with 5 minutes to go in the first period. And the Kings and Oilers is starting momentarily. I know a lot of people are anxious about that one as well.
Yeah. Should be an interesting night of hockey out west. Absolutely. As we move into the third, we'll just remind you, we're looking ahead. If you want to continue to support Game Over in more ways, you can support the Patreon by going to patreon.com/the Game Over Network. You can buy merch. Go to thegameovernetwork.com, click on store, buy merch. These are ways of supporting Game Over with by going the extra mile and supporting financially. So those are options there. Links are in the description. Let's look ahead. Round 2.
Let's do
Leafs-Panthers. Here we go again. Leafs come into this series as they won the division. They're the higher seed. Technically, they had a better regular season. Panthers, however. Won the Stanley Cup last year. They did the thing. They did the thing that everybody wants to do. That's what we're all here to see. How do you feel looking at round 2? Do you feel any level of confidence? Do you feel neutral? Or is it just depth and despair? Because that was real quick before you answer. I'm just gonna say this. I got real sick of hearing people say in the last 48 hours, oh, they're playing so bad they should just lose because they'll never stand the chance against Florida. I got real sick of that nonsense real quickly. Anything can happen in these series. This is a good team. I'll be stunned if they're swept by Florida. I'll be stunned if they lose in 5 again. If they lose in 6, I might not necessarily be all that surprised, but I think you're at least getting 6 games out of this series. But I throw it to you. How are you feeling going into this series?
The same way that Leafs in 6 was a popular safe pick for this opening round, I think Panthers in 6 is going to be the safe pick for round 2. That's probably where I'm leaning. I think going into this series, it's the last time we played Florida, we said, great, you got over the first round monkey off your back, right? But going into round 2 against Florida, who was this barely made it into the playoffs wildcard team, if you lose against them, it's going to be disappointing. You got smacked by them in the second round. So going into round 2 this time around, I don't think, I would be shocked if anyone considered the Leafs favorites in this series. It's pretty clear the Panthers are the favorites and the Leafs are the underdogs. At the end of the day, though, underdogs win all the time. So while I'm not necessarily going into it with expectations, I still have hope. I'm not down in this, I'm not in true despair here. I think I'm at a point where in my mind and in my heart, I kind of have this underlying feeling that I expect the Leafs to lose, but I also can absolutely see a world where they just tighten up and they get some more offense going. And the Panthers, who have been to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, had a ton of injuries this season, are maybe a little beaten up, maybe a little fatigued because they've played more hockey than anyone over the past 2 years. There is absolutely, like, there's a path. There's a path, absolutely.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think, you know, it's maybe not the right mentality to focus on how the other team can lose the series. It's better we should focus on how the Leafs can win. But you hit on it right there. They've been to back-to-back Stanley Cups. That's a lot. That's a lot of hockey. Yep. That's more than anybody else has played in the last couple of years. Eventually, that takes a toll. Like you said, they've been injured a lot this season. They brought in a lot of new players. You know, that affects things. It doesn't always work out great. Sometimes it does. But these are things that, you know, if everything goes right, could be beneficial to the Leafs. Now, they have to play a series where the type of game that they played tonight is the baseline. You cannot play the way you played in Game 5 at all in the Florida series.
To be fair,
like,
the Leafs are allowed one stinker. If that, like, tonight, I'm willing to buy into that was an anomaly. That is not indicative of the Leafs. That is not how they're going to play. I'm willing to accept that. That being said, if they do it again, that's when it's going to be like, okay, like, come on, guys. We have to be able to score goals here. So, another thing, first of all, the Kings scored a minute in. I think Terry M pointed that out in the chat. Shout out to the Kings. But as far as schedule for this series, Matthew, it's another great point. No Ekblad in Game 1. He is still suspended for his flying forearm against on Brandon Hagel.
Okay.
Oh man, I am so not looking forward. Like, you thought, like, we've been blessed. We actually had decent reffing in the first round. There's maybe minor complaints. I have to go check the overall, like, who got more power play opportunities, but the refs were fine in round 1. They won't be fine in round 2.
No.
The Panthers are going to get away with murder every single game. The last time we played them, Sam Bennett chokeslammed Matthew Knies and concussed him for the rest of the series. Aaron Ekblad just got suspended for knocking Brandon Hagel out of Game 5, which they ended up winning. And, like, the amount of shenanigans is going to be off the charts. I hope the Leafs also engage in the shenanigans, because if it's going to be the Wild West, you might as well be the one committing the most crimes. But that's going to be a carnival on the officiating front. Thing I want to bring up, the schedule. We have no idea when this series is starting, but Pierre LeBrun, who, by the way, this is a hilarious tweet. For those wondering, on the Panthers-Leafs series, there are currently 7 different schedule scenarios in play. Much depends on what happens in the Western Conference still. Florida-Toronto could start as soon as Saturday.
Oh my God.
Or it'll be Sunday or Monday. So the latest it will start is Monday. Right. That would be the preferred. You get a few days off to rest and recover.
Yeah.
Saturday is a nightmare because you get 1 day off. You don't even get to scout them or practice or whatever.
If it's Saturday, that's just Game 7 of the Ottawa series. That's the schedule. That was the schedule. We were getting ready for that as a possibility.
And here's the scenarios for those wondering. So on Saturday, as of right now, Colorado, Dallas, Edmonton, LA. If those series go to 7 games, they would be played Saturday. So if either of those series go to Game 7, the Leafs will start Sunday at the earliest. If Jets-Blues goes to Game 7, they play Game 6 tomorrow night. The Jets are without Mark Scheifele, so they'll try to close the series out without him. They'll get a boost defensively without Scheifele. But if the Blues are able to win that Game 7 will be on Sunday. And if that happens, then Game 1 will be on Monday. So if you are a Leafs fan right now, we are big Blues fans tomorrow night. We are big Colorado fans tonight. And the Oilers just tied it. That's not good. We're big Kings fans as well. Just give us a couple of days to recover from the bumps and bruises and get ready for war.
And that, you know, that's where their inability to close out the series earlier may factor in as a negative for the Leafs. You know, much in the same way that we can talk about ways that Florida could just sort of lose the series by, you know, being injured, being tired, all of that. the Panthers get one extra day. Like, it's not that much more, but the Leafs had the opportunity to have. But if they had a one on Tuesday, basically a week. If they had a one on Sunday,
if they won a Saturday,
Saturday, we could have had loads of time to rest, recover, practice, scout, like do all of those things, and instead they lose in overtime. Okay, they have a stinker in game 5, and then next thing you know, Florida surpasses them in real time, winning the series. It's not a great situation that they put themselves in when they had the opportunity to put this away much sooner. One thing I want to ask you about goaltending. We're going into the battle of last year's Florida goalies, basically. Bobrovsky on one side, Stolarz on the other side. Obviously Stolarz was very strong for the Leafs early in the series. I feel like he started to have a bit of a speed wobble as the series went on. Not that he was allowing a ton of goals that were his fault, but it wasn't necessarily the sort of game-stealing goaltending he showed in the past that you can expect from him. Are we ride or die with Stoli now, or is he on a short leash going into this series against the Panthers? Because remember, Joe Woll, he's the only Leaf goalie to win a game against the Panthers in the playoffs. Ugh. So he does have that going for him.
I think it's the same attitude we had coming into the first round. Mm-hmm. You get 2 games. If you have one stinker, okay, I'm willing to let it slide. If you have 2, that's when we pull the cord and you bring in Joe Woll, who has done very good in relief in the playoffs in the past. I want to shout out this Stolarz quote from after the game. That was really funny. On the David Perron goal that we criticized for his positioning, Anthony Stolarz, this is from Luke Fox on Twitter, high-level self-analysis. I got a little horny for the poke check, so you live and learn, and that's the life of a goaltender. You just flush it out of your mind because the next shot's coming, and it's a more important one than the one that just went in. I thought that was funny. So
I do love Stoli. He's great. The two of them, they're so different, but they're such a perfect tandem. It's amazing.
Stoli and Chris Tanev are like perfect for this market because they're just like relatively no nonsense, and they actually just criticize themselves openly. Like, they're willing to be like, yeah, I messed up. I should have made this play, should have made that play, whatever. So love that. But yeah, Stoli, I think he gets at least a 2-game leash here. Yeah. And at the same time, though, like, you could allow 1 goal a game, and if you go into game 4, I don't know, like, maybe you're down 3-0. We'll cross the bridge as we get there. Yeah. I do want to say, though, Stolarz, like, I'm as big a Joseph Woll fan as you're going to find. I love Joseph Woll since his Boston College days. He's awesome. And if he starts game 1, then cool. I'm very confident. Let's not kid ourselves, though. Anthony Stolarz is going to start game 1 because in this series, in 5 out of 6 games, he allows exactly 2 goals.
It's pretty good.
2 goals in 5 games.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for? You should average 3 goals a game. So you should win most games. That, like, if that's what the goaltending you're getting. So I know Terry M saying Woll starting game 1. He's not.
No,
I'm sorry, he's not.
Yeah.
But he is the best break glass in case of emergency. Like, Woll is there. That is the best possible backup you can have. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah. I didn't raise this topic to suggest that Woll should start in game 1. But I do wonder, like, I'm with you. It's still the 2-game leash, but I think maybe my definition for what a stinker is maybe a little like it's less than what it was before. Like it's maybe 3 goals, and if they're all bad, I'm looking at the next game going.
See, that's the thing, is like it's kind of hard to judge. Like, well, yeah,
it's a hypothetical,
3 goals, but like, yeah, what are the games, right? Yeah. Like, are the goals? Are they like really bad rebounds? Like, if we harken back to game 1 of the Battle of Ontario, like Drake Matheson's first goal of the series where, or might have been his only, like the first goal that Stolarz allowed is just because he couldn't control the rebound and it was inexcusable, right? Is it those kind of goals, or is it like a super high level passing play that he has no chance on, right? So it's kind of weird. Like there has to be a lot of nuance with the goaltending conversation, and we as on this show we'll take it game by game. But like going into round 2, I do want to say I'm confident in Stolarz.
Yeah.
I also want to give him a couple days off because he hasn't played this in his entire career. So if he can have 3 days to recover and relax and rest, that would be ideal. Yeah.
So like you said, we're big fans of the Blues for right now. And who else is it we need to root for? The Avalanche?
The Avalanche and the Kings. And so far, the Avalanche are up 2-0 after one. The Oilers and Kings, 6 minutes in, are tied 2-2. That's an absolute carnival.
It sounds like madness in that game. If you're listening live, fire off if you've got questions, if you've got comments you want to make about the game or the series as a whole or round 2. Or anything else that's really going on, fire them off in the live chat here, and we will get to them in just a moment. Zach, let me ask you, you said you were kind of hinting at a prediction. What's your best case scenario for the Leafs, and what's your heart say and what's your head say for this series?
I mean, I'm not going to be a smart ass and be like, well, the best case is Leafs in 4. But realistically, I would be shocked if the Leafs won a short series. Like that would require Tampa 2023 level of BS to go the Leafs way to win this series in 4 or 5. So I think a realistic Leafs win would be in 6 or 7 games. A realistic Panthers win is in 5 or 6 games, right? So again, the Panthers are the favorites in this series, and if anyone thinks otherwise, you are kidding yourselves. The Panthers are the clear-cut favorites in this series. So for the Leafs, number one objective, like the last time we played Florida, you go down 2 games, you lose both at home, and then you play your worst game of the playoffs in Game 3 in Florida to go down 3-0. You cannot put yourself in that kind of position. Nope. You have to win one of the first 2 at home and at least show that this is going to be a series.
Game 1, you got to come out with fire and fury and just make sure that you send the message. And like you said, you cannot give the Panthers any sort of lead in the series that's more than a game. You cannot. Yeah. You got to keep the battles close, keep it tight, and then you will get to Leafs in 7. Is probably, like you said, the best case scenario for this team if we're being realistic.
Yeah, my heart says Leafs in 7. My head says Panthers in 6. What about you?
Heart says Leafs in 7. Head says Panthers in 7. I think we're just getting a long series regardless. I think
We'll see.
I honestly, I still am terrified of a Game 7. And until they win one, I will continue to be.
You know what though? If the Leafs are going to go on a deep run and God forbid do the thing, you've got to get over that. Got to get one. You can't slay the Boston Dragon anymore. No. You blew those chances way too much. What you can do is win a gosh darn Game 7. Yeah, that's what you can do.
So I look at like last year's series against the Bruins. They should not have gotten to Game 7, but they did, and they were one shot away. I look at this series again. I'm like, they could do that. They could do that. They could sort of get to that point, and then that'll define the whether or not they can get over the curse or whatever this is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last call for questions. Got a couple in here already. They're looking pretty good. Last call for questions. Fire them off in the chat. We're almost to the end of the show. We're almost to an hour. Zach, remind folks where they can find you between shows, between now and either Saturday or Sunday or Monday when we next do one of these.
Sometime in the next week. You can find me on Twitter and Bluesky and YouTube, all at Zach Payne 41. And make sure you follow the Game Over Network on socials as well. Again, Twitter, Bluesky, Instagram, YouTube. There is a hub channel, but as well, just make sure to like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto if you're excited for round 2.
Absolutely. And you can follow me at DominicJ25 on Twitter and Instagram, mainly Instagram. That's my main social media place. And if you want to do some Star Warsing, check out the Star Wars Underworld, and you can subscribe to my Substack, dominicgjones.substack.com, for reviews of Andor and beyond. All right, we got some questions here. First one from Matthew. Would you keep Patches on the second line? Zach is shaking his head furiously.
You know why? Because he wasn't on the second line. He didn't survive a whole game on the second line. And look, he scored. I get it. He got the series-winning goal. Thank you so much, Patches. I love you forever for it. And he said after the game, he was like, there were multiple times I didn't think I would be playing hockey ever again. So incredible story. Mm-hmm. He does not have the juice to be in the top 9. If he's playing, which after scoring that goal, it's a near certainty Berube will keep him in the lineup. You have healthy scratch Nick Robertson just waiting if you need him, and you probably will. But Patches, he's on the 4th line. He's with Domi. He's playing 9 minutes a night. He's good in that role. He can go lay some hits, get the crowd into it. But Bobby McMahon is on the second line. That's the best the second line has looked all series, all season. It's Bobby McMahon, John Tavares, William Nylander. We don't have to galaxy brain it. That is the combo. Enough.
Yes, stick to that. Leave that there.
Make
that work.
That's a message to Craig Berube. Enough of this nonsense.
Yeah. Well, and basically, I think the answer is, where did he have the most success? He scored a goal with Domi and Holmberg. Keep them together, like you said. Play them 9 sheltered minutes, and let the fourth line play more, and keep Bobby with Johnny and Willie, and let them make some magic, hopefully. Luke Venables asks, who was your favorite player to watch in the series? Not necessarily the best player, but the one you enjoyed the most. Simon Benoit. I mean, the two overtime goals, he set up the Domi one and then gets the other one. And then, in this game, there were a couple of times where I'm like, Simon, you're not Bobby Orr. You're rushing up there. You're trying to get in the play. He's firing pucks on net.
Hey.
But I loved it. I want to see that. I want these guys to believe that they can make it happen. So,
man,
do it.
You're a hater. Bobby Orr's a mindset. You just gotta get that place. Simon Benoit knows it's Simon Benoit time every time the puck comes to his stick. He was the funniest player to watch in this series, absolutely. I'm gonna say Matthew Knies. We knew that he would be a gamer. He's been a gamer. Every single playoff series he's been in his career so far, he's been awesome to watch. And that goal in Game 4, where he just pokes it and outraces everyone. He had a shift that at the end of the game. The Senators pull the goalie. There's 90 seconds left. And the puck, Matthew Knies, 40 seconds into a shift, chips it out of the Leafs zone, beats the icing out, and allows the Leafs to get a crucial change to get Lawton and Nylander on the ice, who would eventually play a big part on the clinching goal. So Matthew Knies, he has the hustle, he has the physicality, he has the skill, and he has the clutch gene in his body that so many Leafs just apparently don't have, seem to not have. He's just got ice in his veins.
He does.
I love this kid, and I can't wait to see what he does in a full series against the Panthers. And I hope Game 1, Knies drops the gloves with Sam Bennett.
Oh.
I hope he goes and says, you did a cheap shot and knocked me out of the series last time. I'm getting you back. Knies, I hope he just is a raging bull the entire series against the Panthers.
I like it. Let's do it Four Nations style. Just off the opening face-off, the two can drop the gloves. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
We got one here from Josh DiSavino, who says, would you say this game was quintessential Berube hockey? Pretty close to it. Like pretty much.
The third period was.
Okay,
I would say
okay.
the first two periods were similar to overtime at Game 4, where like it was a little more open. Teams are trading chances a bit more. I know the Leafs did a pretty good. Tim Stützle had a really tough time controlling the puck in this game. He could have had a lot of good chances if he would stop fumbling the puck and gripping the stick too hard. But I would say the third period was quintessential Berube hockey. The Leafs, they were pretty good defensively, good penalty kill. You get something that goes against you, they tie it up, right back on offense, and you answer, you take the lead, you shut it down. So I think like games 2 and 3, the third periods where you go 15 minutes without allowing a shot, that is quintessential Berube hockey.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite there tonight, but it was pretty good in the third. Like, I don't know. Like, did you, even when the Sens tied it, did you, like, I wasn't that worried. Like, I still felt pretty good. I
was worried in the sense that I was worried about a curse. Like, I was worried like this is just like a thing that always happens with this team. But this was the best version of an elimination game that we've seen. And they bounced back and played properly.
They looked loose for once.
Yeah. Final question. We'll go back to Matthew. Do you think they go split or 0-2 or 2-0 for the beginning of this with their home games against Florida in the next round?
You got to win at home. Like, I don't know if they will, but you've got to win one of the first two. The Leafs have only won 3 game ones in the Matthews era. If we harken back to games 1 and 2 against Florida in 2023, the Leafs had chances and Bobrovsky stood on his head, especially in game 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that we didn't mention, you have got to score more than 2 goals a game this time around, because the Leafs did not score 3 goals a single time against Florida in 2023. So that is the other thing, is get some offense, beat Bobrovsky, make him look human.
Yeah. 2-0. 2-0. It's gonna be an all home winners series for some reason.
I'm down with it. I'm
going with that.
Lastly, we should mention Terry M and Matthew touching on it in the chat. With the Wild being eliminated, Marc-Andre Fleury's career has come to a close. So we got to give our flowers to Flower.
Yeah. Absolutely
incredible career. Multiple Stanley Cups. He was early in his career. He saved the Pittsburgh Penguins from some dark times. Him and Crosby and the young cast coming in at the time. Like the Penguins, back in the day, there was talks of even possible relocation. That's how bad and desperate they were. And Marc-Andre Fleury was part of the core that reignited that city, reignited that franchise. So full credit to Marc-Andre Fleury, who, if we recall, was very nearly a Leaf at one point in time. There was a trade on the table that would have sent Matthew Nyes to Chicago for Brandon Hagel and Marc-Andre Fleury. What a timeline that would have been with how good Hagel is, but with how good Nyes is. Just want to say, great career, Marc-Andre, and I'm looking forward to the Hall of Fame announcement.
Yeah, great career, great guy. You see it everywhere he went. You see it in the respect that the opponents have showed for him, and that players have shown in the last year as he's had his kind of retirement tour. And look forward to the Hall of Fame announcement, and look forward to hearing it and seeing him in the broadcast booth at some point, because that's a dude that is made for hockey commentary, hockey television. Potentially in French, it may be on RDS or TVA or Radio Canada or something, but I'm sure it will be entertaining in whatever language. But that is it. That is where we will leave things. The Leafs win round 1, 4-2 over the Ottawa Senators, both the game score and the series score. And we will be back on either Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, depending on what happens out west. And we will look forward to having you back with us for those games. We want Florida. Say it with me. We want Florida, and we're going to win. Damn it.
Have the passion. And as Terry M says, and this is a great way to close this, go Leafs, go.
Boom.